50,000 miles later, let's talk about my review of my Toyota Tacoma. Let's hop into this. If you are new to this channel, I built this Toyota Tacoma to live out of, and we lived out of it for 7 months. I put some heavy miles on this, and I want to talk to you guys about how it's held up, how my experience has been so far. First of all, this is a 2021 Toyota Tacoma TRD Sport with the 6-speed manual. Give you a little bit of background there so you're not confusing what model this is. As you guys can tell, in 50,000 miles, I have done a lot to this truck. So I'm gonna try to keep it as basic as I can to be able to show you guys how the actual base truck has done in my experience. Let's go ahead and start at the most important thing, and that's if I've had any issues with my Toyota Tacoma in the 50,000 miles. Well, I've actually had a few, and they started off pretty early. The first issue here was in the back here. Please ignore this scratch, but it was the rear shock. Now, this has different suspension on it from the factory than the off-roads have. I went to go upgrade my suspension to Bilstein 5100s. When I did that, I realized the rear shock that came factory was blown out. Now, this happened around 20,000 miles. I realized this rear shock was blown out. Very upsetting to me, and explained why the truck didn't ride that good from the factory. I knew that the Sport had harder suspension than the TRD off-road, but this explains why it was extremely harsh in the rear end. To make matters worse here with my Toyota experience at this time, I was still doing the Toyota care. I had just had this truck in for the inspection, the oil change, and the tire rotation with the Toyota care, and none of the certified techs there noticed that the rear shock had oil all over it and it was blown out. So that made me question the accountability of the Toyota techs moving forward, and I started doing my own maintenance from there on out. The second issue I had with the truck was up here in the front. In the front of the diff, there is a needle bearing that sits where the axle is. And that needle bearing is very prone to going bad, and it becomes a bigger issue if you lift up the truck at all. At the time, I was running about a 2-inch leveling kit with the Bilstein 5100s, and I identified this issue with a vibration. And it was kind of random. You would feel it in the gas pedal and in the steering column, and it was like a vroom, vroom, very random, but also really annoying. I initially thought maybe a wheel bearing was going bad or I had a band broken in my tires. That wasn't the case. Very common for this to happen. I highly recommend when you change your front diff fluid, go ahead and change out this needle bearing as well to the clamshell bushing provided by ECS. This will bulletproof that bearing and you don't ever have to worry about it again. The final thing that broke on my Tacoma in 50,000 miles was a TPMS sensor battery died. Now, I'm not going to blame Toyota for this because I bought these Method 312 wheels used off Facebook Marketplace, and they came with the sensors, and I had them reprogrammed for this truck. The sensors were off of 2016, I believe, so I can't really blame Toyota for that battery dying in that sensor. But now I do have a dash light for tire pressure. I haven't fixed it yet because the tires on there are pretty new. I'm only down to the first wear mark on my Wild Peaks that you see on there. So I'm not going to go ahead and take the tires off just to replace the sensor. I'm just going to wait until I replace the tires again to handle that fix. That pretty much wraps up the issues I've had with the truck. But now I want to talk about annoyances I've experienced with all the miles I put on the truck and seat time. The first annoyance is the gearing. Now, I do have the 6-speed manual, so it helps. But the low range on this truck, like first gear and reverse, is extremely annoying when you're off-roading. Added to the fact that I have bigger tires and a lot of weight on it, I find when I'm off-roading, I need to go into low anytime I'm backing up on any kind of incline, or I either stall it out or I have to burn the clutch a little bit to get me moving. That's added to the fact that the clutch accumulator in this, which is a little device that adds pressure to the clutch to help new drivers, that affects me because I've been driving manual my whole life. So when I was learning how to drive this truck, the clutch does not handle how a normal clutch would in an older vehicle or any other vehicle that I've driven. I've gotten used to it over 50,000 miles, but when I'm off-roading, I find it very hard to deal with because it doesn't do what I want it to do, or at least how I think it should act. I find myself stalling or burning the clutch a little bit when I'm off-roading. I can fix that very easily when I'm off-roading because I just end up putting it in low so I don't even have to risk burning my clutch out, but kind of annoying. I wish the gearing, at least for first gear and reverse, was a little bit lower. My other little annoyance I had with driving this truck was the seat height. I fixed this by adding seat jackers, and that really improved the ride for long distance rides. I'm able to do 10 hours at a time now and not get sore. The way to seat is now with the seat jackers, it jacks the front of the seat up to give your legs a little bit more room, and it makes them not go numb and not feel uncomfortable for long drives. I highly recommend this mod if you put a lot of miles on your truck. It's not that expensive, and it's really worth it to make the truck more comfortable when you're driving it. I'm about 6 feet tall, 6'1" on a good day, and I don't find any issues with getting in and out of the truck with the seat jackers in there. If you're worried about being taller and hitting your head, I haven't run any issues, but I'm not the tallest guy either. That honestly wraps up the annoyances I've had with the truck. To be honest, it's been very great. I do want to mention fuel economy here. As you can expect, the fuel economy has not been great on this truck. I have it extremely loaded down. There's a tent that's basically a parachute, a bunch of stuff on the roof. So you can imagine the fuel economy is bad. Well, let's talk about that. When I'm driving around back roads or normal roads that you live on, I have no issues. I actually get about 15 miles a gallon, which is pretty good for what I got going on here. As soon as I hit the highway though, I push the truck up to 75, 80. I am getting about 11 on the highway. So we try to stay off the interstate as much as possible, try to keep that fuel economy in a pretty decent range. I think 15 is acceptable for daily driving, unless you are doing a lot of highway driving. Don't recommend setting your truck up like I did. But for me, 15, I think that's pretty good with what's going on. So my final thoughts here on the 2021 Tacoma, and I'm gonna try to keep this as objective as I can. Now, like I told you guys, I did live out of this for 7 months. I experienced a lot of my life out of this. I got engaged, I got married, graduated college. So this truck is kind of more than a truck than me. It's a part of me. So I'm gonna keep it just objective and only talking about the truck here, not let emotions get in the way. Final thoughts here, I love the truck. I don't regret buying the truck at all. I would go back and do it again. I love this truck. I'm gonna keep it forever, drive it till the wheels fall off. That's my plan. Replace the engine if it needs it at any point. I'm just gonna keep it forever and try to keep it, well, as nice as possible. I'm still gonna use it and kind of beat on it, but I wanna keep it for a very long time. If you're on the fence about buying one of these trucks, I highly recommend you do it. At least pick up a 3rd gen before the new 4th gen come out, because I have a feeling that these are going to be highly sought after, especially in the manuals as time moves on. I think we're going to see the manuals fade away, although I do love that Toyota is offering the manual in the new 2024. That's awesome, keeping the manuals alive. Love to see that. But with the new turbocharged engine in the new 4th gen, I fear that they're not going to last as long as these older Toyotas. I hope I'm wrong, but I do highly recommend picking up a 3rd gen if you get a chance and keeping it forever. At least that's what I'm gonna do. If you guys are interested in modding your Tacoma or learning how to mod it or learning how to build it like I did, I have a ton of videos on my channel that show step-by-step of basically everything I've done on this truck. You can find a video for it on the channel. You can see us overlanding, doing some cool camping videos. It's all on the channel, check it out. It means a lot to me. Do me a big favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. We're almost there, we're getting there. Also guys, big news, I'm starting a new channel. I'm gonna try to separate some stuff up here. So this channel is gonna be only for Toyota stuff, modifying the truck, talking about the truck, going overlanding, stuff like that, overlanding gear. My other channel is gonna be focused on my hobbies. We just bought a house. I'm gonna be doing a lot of stuff to the house that I wanna record, my mountain biking stuff, and just random stuff. So I'm not in a creative box with this channel. Separating up a little bit, that way I'm making better content for everybody, and my videos aren't all over the place like they have been. And the new channel name, you ready for this? Life of the Viking. I'm gonna have all kinds of stuff on there. My life, everything. I'll link it down below. There's no videos on there yet, but I'm gonna be working on them. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one. Check this video out right here. It's pretty good.